Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Hallyujuku, a podcast about East Asian pop culture and the things going on in and around it. I'm Petey Rave, here with you, and here with me is my tag team partner, my partner in crime, my right-hand man to my left-hand side, Brandon Cooper, aka King Kaz. How you doing, Kaz?
What is up? I just want to announce here and now that in 5 to 10 years I will be retiring, much like Jay Park.
Yes. Give or take.
Give or take.
Yes.
Depends on what that Rock Nation contract says.
Yes. We're here to talk about East Asian pop culture, like we do on an intermittent basis. We're here to talk about what's new. We start off every episode talking about what's new, what's caught our attention since we last gathered. Kaz, what's new? Mm-hmm. What's going on?
The newest thing is me and you fucking following the hell out of CL on Instagram.
I've been following her for a while. But yeah.
No. We've both been following her for a while, but she's just been posting more in the post realm of things that have happened. But what PD actually meant was music. So I want to introduce you. I'm not sure if you heard of them, but this is a new boy group. I think they're on SM.
Yes.
Called WayV.
WayV.
So I think they've either put out 2 songs,
couple, I think something like that.
Yeah, but this is their song "Take Off," which is going to be on their first mini album, which will also be named "Take Off." And I'm kind of feeling them. I kind of like their vibe. It's a little. It's kind of very similar to NCT, and very, very, very similar to like current EXO. So this is kind of just like the current SM sound. But I don't know. There's something about these gents that I like.
Yeah, it's a really cool song. So yeah, I've been kind of like keeping an eye on. They're technically connected to NCT in that they're the NCT China group, supposedly. Yeah. But like the weirdness between post Thad with like Korean and Korean groups being in China, even if it's like tangentially connected to Korean groups, so they wanted to kind of like not have that stigma, so they decided to give them their own unique non-NCT name, even though they're technically part of NCT. I don't know, but. Either way, it is cool. It is well done. It is like it has a cool like style and swagger to it. Has cool visuals too. It's I think it works overall. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I just kind of went and listened to I think I listened to maybe 2 of their tracks that they have out so far. And I like the very electronic hip hop vibe with that pop mix that K-pop tends to put out sometimes, because this very much similarly reminded me of very early BTS, but BTS was trending more hard hip hop. And then they kind of made their way towards this sound and kind of made this sound popular. But this is kind of a sound I enjoy. I love up-tempo boy group stuff. I love up-tempo just any group, girl group, boy group, whatever. But I love it with the kind of electronic hip-hop sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it works really well on this.
Yeah. And there's some interesting breakdowns in this as well that like span genres. There's kind of even a rock like breakdown in this that's interesting. I don't know if it kind of takes you out of it a little bit. But I think it's all interesting. I think it's a group to kind of keep an eye on and see what they do because we don't see these Chinese groups generally for too long.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of break C-pop or the Chinese pop in music. Like it's
The People's Republic pop.
It's I don't know. It's still. I think it's still growing. Apparently, from what I can tell,
Yeah.
it's not really establishing a solid. It's establishing like a solid scene or so, something like that, or an industry. Like, it's still kind of in a building process, from what I can tell from intermittent observation and from comments here and there on the internet. For all that matters,
because we are very much watching from afar.
Yeah, from what and in small spurts.
Yeah. All right. So this one is going to be a surprise for some of you that follow, because I don't always talk about girl groups, but for those of you who do follow, know I love me some Red Velvet. I know this track, even for Petey, has kind of been hit or miss, and has been for some other people online as well when I went and looked. But I like Red Velvet, and this song, Simsalabim, is it reminds me a little bit in some of its sound of Ice Cream Cake, and we know how many times I think I have like almost 100 views on Ice Cream Cake by myself because I love that song so much.
Yeah. If I think one of the things that it reminds me of conceptually is "I Got a Boy" by Girls' Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, like that very beginning is very like reminiscent of that.
Also, the fact that there's like 14 different songs in this one song, and they don't quite fit. At least I don't. It's very hit or miss. I think it's a big miss for me. It's not. It doesn't go anywhere, and it's kind of, it doesn't land anywhere where it hooks me. Like it seems frenetic in a way that that is hard to follow, but it never kind of finds a good place. It just, at least that's how I feel. Like it just the the hook is all right, but it's kind of disjointed from the rest of the song. It doesn't quite hook. And the verses are okay, but it gets lost a little bit, and I'm almost having a lot more fun having this play in front of me without sound than I did while I was listening to the song. Because like if I would say the big positives of this is that the video is cool, and the visual style is nice, but that's always the case with Red Velvet, just in general.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not one that I'm gonna put on all that much on my playlist. Like, it's one of the few misses for me, at least as far as from Red Velvet.
All right. I mean, I think that's fair. Like I said, I don't think it's kind of the standard of what I would go to if I wanted to try to make somebody a Red Velvet fan. I think there's better tracks for that. But I think if you're kind of already into Red Velvet, you might like this. So it definitely does have its flaws, so it kind of lives and breathes there.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. They can't all be hits. Speaking of hits, oh no, we got GFriend, Fever. I like this. It's kind of a slower song, which GFriend kind of is their thing.
Like mid to upper tempo kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very visual, which is also a GFriend thing.
Yeah.
They're very visual. They're very like we're pretty, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just trying to find where I fit in with this song and like where what my feelings are about this song. I think I like it. I'm like literally not sure. I'm riding the fence really hard on this song. There are things about it that I like. I love their vocals. Their harmonization is always really good. But I also get that feeling from this song that I think you got from the Red Velvet song, where I just feel like the song doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I think it's structurally a little bit more cohesive, but yeah, like it's nice. The music is nice. Their singing is really good. The kind of the visual elements obviously are great. They're all attractive human beings. And you get the kind of glimpses into really nice like choreography, which is kind of the other big element. So I'm looking forward to maybe checking them out I'm checking out a couple of music show performances just to see the whole choreo, or like the dance practice or whatever.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you want to buy a Hyundai now though?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did. I did. Oddly enough, it makes you think of the fact that I just recently rented on YouTube and watched, even though I could probably just order the DVD on Amazon Prime or whatever, of Josie and the Pussycats, which I think is still a really fun movie and really fantastic. But it's like that, like watching listen to music and like that scene where they first get introduced into that big thing that puts in the spoiler alert subliminal advertising in the music, and it's like they play the song, it's like, oh, here it is all mixed together. It's like, and Melody is like, I want a Big Mac. It's like, you're vegetarian. I don't know, I just want one. It's like I want a Hyundai. But yeah, I think it's a good song, I think, and it's a solid addition to their repertoire, and I like that visually and like stylistically they're maturing in a couple different ways, really nicely. It's another one where the hook is a musical drop, an instrumental drop, rather than like a melodic hook, or rather like a lyrical hook. So go into that with that expectation, and how you feel about that, whatever that leads you. But I think it's solid. It's good. Yeah,
I agree. Yes.
All right. So, my stuff.
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah. What's new? A couple of really cool songs, a couple interesting things. So first of all, we got a new song from another growing girl group that we talked about at least a few times. Basically talked about every one of their comebacks. G-I-DLE, or just I-DLE, are back with a new song called Uh-Oh. And this time kind of like more going into a hip-hop sound, which kind of really makes sense for, kind of they're being built around the free agent rapper that they signed in Soyeon. And I think
really pulling out their chola in this.
Yes. I find it so musically the song is nice. I think that they definitely elevate, which is what is kind of a pretty okay song with their performance. It's more vibe than it is I think the vibe is what carries it more than necessarily the song does. The fact that they're kind of like going for this like it's very much like a throwback boom bap like hip hop style, and that part works well. It's fun. The video is fun. It's like they're they're in front of. They just decided to set up in front of this random bodega or something, or bail. I think it's a
Bail
bodega.
bonds.
There's
It's a bodega with a bunch of bail bond signs outside of it.
yeah, and it's like I wonder where did they go for this? It's like, and then like a bunch of the signs are up there, and I'm like, are people going to start calling these numbers? I'm like, like, yo, if you're in the presumably LA area, because that's so they're definitely not Texas, and it's definitely not New York. So it's like, and those are the three places you are likely going to fly direct to from Korea. So if you're in the LA area, you know who you can go to for a body piercing, or a bail bond, or a party bus rental, or somebody to buy gold from you, or a quick ATM. So just call those numbers in this video. That means it's a fun song. I think it's a solid addition to their discography. I don't know if it's their best song. I think they still set a high bar with their first two songs, and I think they're still kind of not quite. They haven't quite surpassed the bar that they set with those, but this is solid. It works. I don't know. What did you think?
No, I kind of have the same feel. The vibe of the video is still weird to me because it's just very it's very LA culture. It's very Latino LA culture, styled in their clothing and stuff like that. So it just kind of struck me as odd for a second, but I think it's pretty cool.
I also appreciate. I don't know if it's intentional, but somebody pointed out that the scene in which in which Soyeon raps into a microphone hanging, while the whole thing is on fire.
It's on fire.
Might be a reference to an Eric B and Rakim video, an actual old Eric B and Rakim video. Which I'm trying to. I saw it somewhere on Reddit. Rakim phone. When
might be
microphone fiend.
Might be microphone fiend.
Yeah, it might be something let's see, or one of those. It was something like that.
Or the LL Cool J, rock the bells. I don't see. Now you're testing my hip hop knowledge, and you're all right. We can't do that because my hip hop knowledge is bad right now. Don't. It's like somebody presenting SATs to me all of a sudden. What? No, not really.
No, I left New York. But yeah, I think overall it's really good. It's a good song, but I think it's a solid song. It's definitely not bad, but I think it's kind of box standard. Moving forward, another track, kind of a solo track, kind of a solo debut that I think a lot of people weren't necessarily expecting, which is Sully. She formerly of FX. The kind of what people, it came as a surprise because most people assume that she left FX to just leave music. It's just in general kind of focus on acting and all the other stuff. But she now has her solo debut, which is a new single called Goblin, or Goblin, actually in Korean, and it's interesting. The video is really interesting.
Very artsy.
Very artsy, very much influenced by all these indie artists, and I think it works well. I think it works really well for her voice. It's very much her speaking to her career and people's perceptions on her and like her state of mind throughout her career. And people kind of pointed out that like it's like a whole video about like 3 different characters that she portrays, and it's like there's like a dissociative disorder or something like that, where it's basically just some people pointed out it's like, okay, her in her early days, her throughout her career in FX, and then her later on is like this darker persona, and it's like it's nice. It works well, and I like the aesthetic too. The song is nice, and I think it's very fitting to her voice. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely very like an avenue of showing her voice, because the beat kind of tends to like tail her off in parts where she's really singing, or where she's saying things or stuff like that. Like it tends to kind of get out of her way rather than trying to mix well. So I think I do definitely find it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's a solid song, and there's not much to say about it. I think people should just go ahead and check it out. It's just a nice, solid, like kind of like thoughtful song, and it's a good, solid solo debut, and it fits her voice really well. So go ahead and check it out. Also, I found the Reddit post. It was a reference to the video to "When I Be on the Mic" by Just Rakim, not Eric B. and Rakim, but Just Rakim.
Okay.
So at least that's who the Reddit post pointed out. Specifically, it's the microphone hanging down and it's on fire, like, and like kind of almost standing on a similar like set. So it's I think it could be purposeful, and if it is, that's kind of dope. But yeah. Moving on. BABYMETAL has a new track. They're kind of leading up to later on in a couple months their new album, which I'm looking forward to, Metal Galaxy. So they came out with a new track, a new video as well for the song Papaya, featuring rapper F Hero, who I believe is I forget. I remember where he was from, but he was he's Thai. Oh, he's Thai. He's a Thai rapper guesting on this song. I don't know why, but it's interesting and it works well. But the song of Papaya.
I mean, we all remember the very early days of BABYMETAL, and they had that one hip hop track, and everyone lost their fucking minds.
Yeah, it was an odd moment, but it's just like this person from Thailand like being the guest on this album, which is really interesting. Hey, it's fun. It's heavy. It has that nice bit of like precision metal moments, while also being kind of like these growly metal moments, and of course has a ton of like their very BABYMETAL-esque like solid choreography, and the vocals are fantastic. Yeah, and Sue Metal is a fantastic singer. She continues to be a fantastic singer. Moa is fantastic in this as well. It's very interesting. They're also, the other thing that's worth pointing out is that they have somebody in place as the third spot, which we'll get into more. But I think the main thing, the song is really nice. Well, what do you think about the song?
No, I fucking love BABYMETAL. I don't listen to them enough, and I feel like I need to go back through their fucking all their tracks at this point, and albums and stuff, like, because every time I hear BABYMETAL, it makes me kind of want to go back and listen to like death, like speed metal and death metal. Like but like it's not going to be this.
Yeah.
Like there's just a special place for this, and I think it's why everyone loves it. It just works so well.
Yeah.
Which is why I like things like Bandmade. Like Bandmade also, like they don't have the amount of accolade that Baby Metal does, but I think Bandmade is also a very good, like, in this kind of regard, that like it just mixes so well to do the idol and metal thing.
Yeah, and I think it's super solid. The other notable thing is that yes, there's following Yui medals. There was a lot of word about like, are they going to replace her? Are they going to do anything where they like build the group out more, like in her absence, or do other things? They definitely, in the video, you can definitely see there are 3 people dancing on stage. Sue Metal in the center with her microphone. Oh, Cappy, why did you fall down? And Moa Metal to her side with her, her microphone, her countryman mic, and the third member. And if I remember correctly, this is Kano Fujihira. She's a current member of Sakura Gakuen. Of course, Sakura Gakuen is the group from which Baby Metal was spawned, and she's there. And people were like looking at this video. Okay, is she going to be the new member? It kind of makes sense. But then there's also the fact that they played Glastonbury, the Glastonbury Music Festival, and there they had former Morning Musume member Sayashi Riho, who has been performing with them as a dancer. Obviously, they've actually been very much specifically dancers, as like so that they could have the 3-girl formation, as they've generally had before. Because if you can see in the video, Kano does not have a microphone, does not have a countryman, even though she is lip sync, she's kind of mouthing along with Moa. She's definitely not providing vocals there. And I have not looked at, or at least I've not looked. Let me see. Let me kind of take a peek at the performance from Glastonbury, but it doesn't appear like Sayashi Riho has a microphone during their performances.
I think she has one on. I don't know. I don't know if it's lip service or if she's actually, because it's kind of harder to
So I'm looking. Yeah, she doesn't have the in when I'm looking at the video of the. Okay, because I know that Kano definitely. I'm looking at her face. She doesn't have one on. And then I'm looking at the performance, which I guess I didn't link in the show notes, but I'm looking at from Glastonbury, which I'll link the.
Oh, you're looking at the other one, yeah.
Yeah, and neither does Sayashi Riho. And there's been some speculation of them just being like support dancers, just to fill out that form, just to be there, or possibly as like an audition process for the choreography. I don't know, cause there's a lot of things back and forth. Some people are also saying that they're possibly platooning, like old platoon, baseball platoon style, where it's a couple people kind of swapping in and out. I don't know. It's hard to speculate because it makes sense, because if you think about like some like, again, not just dancing formation, but like certain songs are built around Moa and Yui kind of playing off of each other. In particular, Gimme Chocolate is that the whole thing is that whole call and response between Moa and Yui, and having to watch Moa kind of like go back and forth and do the call and the response. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird when it's very obviously a call and response. I don't. Well, what do you think is the most likely scenario out of all this?
I think you do the trial and error, And I think that is what they're doing. They're kind of trying more people in different things to see how they fit, right? And then you want to, because they do tour a lot, right? The instant thing is to put somebody there that can learn the choreography first, right? Cool, you can learn the choreography. We, vocally, other things can be handled later. And then I think now, as you go and as you get deeper, you see who gels well, right? You see who gels well with the other two, and now you have to start taking that time to see who can vocally match what you've been putting out with what you're going to continue to put out. And I think that's perfectly fine with groups like this, right? Like, if like, people kind of come and go, and it's kind of almost been the staple of idols and rock groups throughout history to have members and lose members, and people like shift and change and stuff like that. One of my all the different variations of Blink 182, and if they've ever heard of them, as if they're all different bands.
Like,
they go, Blink 182? And they go, yeah. I'm like, Angels and Airwaves? Yeah.
Like, that was Tom, that first time we realized that his Tom DeLonge's first exploration of being the weirdo alien guy. And then it all went down from there. I think we'll have to see. It's definitely an interesting, even between those two, like who they choose would be an interesting dynamic, because we're going to talk about Sayashi Yudiho, who's herself 21 years old, essentially an ex-member of a rotating idol group, who's kind of like established herself for a little while. Or do you go with like somebody like Kano, who is 14 years old, a member of the Sakura Gakuen? What does that say? And do you go for the super young person? But then, like, it seems like it's like do you like cause yourself to seem like you're doing that process everyone assumes you're doing, like the process that people like, think of all the, like even K-pop and J-pop girl groups do, even though only a few do. And like, especially people that don't know J-pop will kind of like, oh, who are they going to replace them with? Are they doing like Menudo? And are you going to do that perception, or are you going to go with the established? It's an interesting dynamic. We'll have to see what they do, if anything, or if they're just going to have the dancer. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's it for what's new. Other than I pulled up CL's Instagram again. She still has the Urban Decay stuff, which looks nice. That campaign looks nice. Now we're gonna transition over to the headline segment. So sit tight and join us on the flip side. I finally have papers to ruffle.
You doing Foley work?
All right, time for the news. Here's our... this is all blank sheets of paper from failed printing attempts. News that are happening. BTS Map of the Soul Persona takes #1 on mid-2019 list of top physical album sales in the United States. Which is an impressive sentence, and until you stop to think about, it's selling a lot of physical albums in the United States. It's still impressive. BTS's Map of the Soul Persona is the highest selling physical album in the United States for 2019 so far. On June 27th local time, Nielsen Music released this mid-year report for 2019, which is based on the tracking period from January 4th to June 20th. BTS Map of the Soul takes #1 on the list of top 10 physical albums in the United States on the mid-year report, with 312,000 units sold. The group's latest mini album also comes #4 on the ranking of top 10 albums with 343,000 sales. The chart is based on physical and digital sales, album not overall equivalent. So like the top 10 physical albums right up there. They beat the Jonas Brothers by a slim margin, only about $4,000, 4,000 albums.
Well, I mean, so
which is nice.
Let's look at that top 5 physical album, right, and kind of break down why I think it works this way. So we've talked about why I-DLE albums are a better bang for your buck, like at length on this show many a times. PD, hopefully not falling out of his chair, is going to grab one as a visual. All right. So the kind of the key factor is presentation in I-DLE merchandising, especially of the album, right? You get some kind of reward and prize within this thing that is not just an album, right? It's not just the physical CD, right? Because literally Americans are just talking about the physical CD. You're going to get a picture book, you're going to get all this stuff that feeds it. That feeds into the fandom of feeds into you being a fan of this group, right? It's giving you more bang for your buck to add to your fandom of that. And then the other things that are on here, right, are things that are grabbing people's attention, right? So obviously the 4 and 5, right? The 4 and 5 are soundtracks, right? Soundtracks tend to always sell relatively well because you don't always get to hear the depth of a soundtrack when you're watching a movie, and there are things in a soundtrack that you kind of want to hear. So Queen and A Star Is Born, or Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, those are why those are on there. And then the other ones are nostalgia. Right, 2 and 3 are nostalgia. The Jonas Brothers have brought back a sense of nostalgia for a bunch of people, and the Backstreet Boys bringing back a bunch of nostalgia for a bunch of people.
That single that they came out with was really solid too.
Ooh, the Backstreet Boys or Jonas Brothers? Yeah, no, I think so too. And then the rest is just popular at the moment. Like Billie Eilish is really popular at the moment. Vampire Weekend is always just kind of a popular group due to the amount that they tour and kind of how well their songs are put together. Yeah. But the thing with BTS, and I think the thing that is going to continue to be a trend going forward with more K-pop being released, more physical K-pop being actually released in America where you can physically buy it, is the fact that you are getting more bang for your buck. You are getting more things in supporting the fandom in that way, other than just listening to things on Spotify or on YouTube or on iTunes or on Google Play or buying it there, right? You feel like the dollar that you spent extra to do those, to buy a physical copy of something is actually worth it. Like I said, this is funny enough. I had to send PD a picture today. Because I was working in our music section in the IRL retail store that I work in, and how much more the K-pop is presented, not because I work there and I did it that way, but because they don't fit with the regular CDs.
So regular CDs are just a defined shaped square. It's a jewel case. They're up here. Like you can see that's all CDs and they're all the same shape. Whereas
and they look the same, and they're very uniform, and they're very sterile, right? Like the jewel case thing of a CD is very sterile, but you look at I-DLE CDs, and they're these big rectangles. They're colorful. They're eye popping. Like the NCT one is like draws your eye in. The NCT 127. thing draws your eye in because it's super bright, it's super colorful, it's super shiny, and it just grabs you. So
shiny is over here somewhere. I'm sorry, we went
on. But it just grabs your eye and it grabs your attention. And that's,
even when they're uniform, like the Mamamoo CDs, that they're still like a nice design.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Was it the record breaker? I think a record breaker. Somebody I was having a conversation with, where I brought up a thought that I've been having, where like people want to say physical media is dead, where I think it's a wrong way to put that sentence. I mean, we may have stopped selling CDs at the place I work, but we still sell movies in physical, and people still come and buy them. And we still have a bin of CDs, so some people have them. But like specifically things like, and I will make this note: when there's a movie that is anticipated and the steelbook comes out, that sells out. That sells out all the time. People come in looking for that. So like the steelbook is special. The main thing that I was thinking, like more of the time about like K-pop and all of these other things, what's physical media is not dead. Physical media as content delivery is dead. Physical media is no longer content delivery. You can get the you can check something out a multitude of way easier ways. Physical media is merch. It's merchandise. It's a keepsake. You don't get the physical media to check out a thing. You get it to have it. You get it to.
And I think this is something the K-pop industry figured out a while ago, that America and like other places scene didn't.
Yeah,
you know, like you said, you point to those jewel cases above you, and you think about looking through that in a store to find your group, and being that me and Petey both work in physical retail, putting jewel case CDs away is just sad, because you got to look at it. You got to be like, all right, this person goes under this alphabet, and then once you put it in there, it's lost. Like literally, I could put a CD away, walk away for 2 minutes, and then somebody could be like, "Hey, do you have this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just put it over here." You know, but literally, when this literally happened the other day. Some girl came in and she was like, "Oh, do you have like any BTS CDs?" And they were in different places because someone else put them away and they didn't care. And I could just still go grab each and every one. One, because I do know what they look like being a fan of K-pop, but like I know the giant rectangles are K-pop CDs. But at the same time, I know the color scheme of the BTS CDs. You know what I mean? Like one's black, one's white, one's pink, one's, you know what I mean? So it's just easy to just go grab all the BTS CDs and hand them to that person so that they can look through them, because it's just it's going to start to dominate our market as more of K-pop stuff becomes terrestrial in our market, right? Because it's shaped different, it looks different, and like you said, it's presented as merch. It's not presented as your first line of getting you into this group. You're already into this group. This is just to deepen that. This is because you want the card that's going to come in there, because you want the poster that's going to come in there, because you want the picture book to show to your friends. You want all this other shit that is in there that is superfluous to this actual physical media that is in there. You don't give a fuck about the CD. I could literally see people buying the CD and fucking trucking it because they're like, I already have all the songs on my goddamn phone. I just want this physical merch that came with it.
You think, here's the funny thing. You think there's a single CD up here? Hell no. They're down here somewhere. Or actually, they're over there in a like a book in the folder, because they're stored away that way. This is just for show. Like this exists so like I need something on my bookshelf because it looks nice, and like, same for the K-pop CDs too. Like I pulled this out, but if you notice, the CD isn't here because I put it away. Like this is all for putting something on your bookshelf. And yeah, like I the keepsake, like I said, the steel books of like movies that people really enjoyed, like people. I think I wish more people would embrace the idea of like pivoting that into like, no, your physical media is no longer like people get the physical media of something that matters to them now. It's not it like I have, especially, so for example, the odd transition in wrestling. We're talking about wrestling again on the. We often I often bring up wrestling on on this podcast because I think there's a lot of analogies in the industry in a lot of different ways. But like in this thing, it's a medium and an industry that was stuck in a very physical media centric place way past when it should have moved to digital. The people were still relying on DVDs as their mode of content delivery, which didn't make sense. And they would still like do like polls of like they make polls on Twitter and like which way do you prefer getting your shows, and they're like DVDs, VODs, things like, it's like. And then DVDs would still lose, but I would still look at that poll as like, yo, even look, of course people are going to pick DVDs because they're your fans. They like the events, they want to have them. But then DVDs would still lose because even amongst the fans, like only a few of them are going to be like, I want DVDs. But it's like you want digital, but there's still these events, these special events, and especially if it's like your favorite event or had the best set of matches. If you had I would think I would love to, if I had my own wrestling company or some company, to like put a little bit more love into like, okay, if we're gonna put out physical like DVDs or Blu-rays, put like a photo book in there with like photos of the matches or behind the scenes shots or things like that, little interviews and little things about the show, because especially wrestling, it's an event. It's an event you attended or you watched on like a pay-per-view or on internet pay-per-view. It's a singular moment of time because they're live events. Like, for example, I own one wrestling DVD. And it's one wrestling event DVD. I also have CM Punk's Best in the World somewhere around there, Blu-ray. But one wrestling DVD, which is Chikara's High Noon. And that, for the wrestling fans out there, Chikara Pro Wrestling is a really cool, kind of offbeat, fun, sweet promotion out of Philadelphia, which I've loved for years. Existed for like almost 20 years at this point. And that event in particular was the culmination of the 12 large tournament, which was the final match of a tournament meant to pay tribute to Larry Sweeney, somebody who we had lost just the year previously. Kind of paying tribute to him, who was a big figure in the industry, especially the indie industry. So it was like this emotional moment and emotional landing event. So it was a big event for me in particular. So I have the DVD of it. Like, and I can always, no matter what, I can always go back to like that moment in time, that promotion. Like, I have it somewhere. It's somewhere here back there. Or down here, I think maybe. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like that moment you want to remember, that thing you want to keep. So that being said, moving forward, speaking of big hit, kind of making big moves, Min Hee Jin joins Big Hit CBO. She's a former executive at SM Entertainment. She's like a former like brand director, visual director, that worked on like general branding concepts for groups, in particular like Girls' Generation, FX, Red Velvet. She worked on a lot of stuff with Shiny. She worked in like doing a lot of universe building for EXO, which is really interesting. So it's going to be really interesting. So she's signing off as a chief brand officer, but in particular, she's signing on to kind of like run one of their it looks like they're kind of Big Hit is expanding, kind of doing a multi-label system, and they're kind of having a couple. She's going to run a couple of the sub labels, in particular, in with the goal, at least on one of them, to spawn a new girl group, which is going to be interesting. Kind of a Big Hit style girl group. You know, you're talking about like, you know, this is of course Big Hit being BTS's label. It's kind of seeing the expansion. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what Big Hit does in the form of a girl group. I mean, we technically have an example. If we look back before, in a pre-BTS world, or or when they just debuted, we had Glam, and then, you know, that kind of was before BTS became BTS and could like carry the label. So they had their own struggles. So, but even that, I think Glam does offer a little bit of insight, because they had that nice like hip hop sound, which is but also playful, which is fun. I don't know.
I think this is a very interesting thing to have somebody this big, right, in working with groups like that, like FX, like especially using us as the kind of fandom foundation in a sense, right? Like we're not very specific to the K-pop fandom. We're very nitpicky. But you being a big Girls' Generation fan, me and you both being big FX fans, and also me being a very big Red Velvet fan, to have this person who was in the background of deciding how those looked and how those played out, and being able to follow the trend, you know, is very good, because we've talked about the kind of like weird arc that was BTS, right? Yeah. Like it started here, but somehow we got here, in a really good way. So to have somebody who knows how to follow those trends and knows how to set something without possibly having the oversight of an overbearing label, right? Like we know what the overbearing label does to people, but we've seen the way that Big Hit allowed BTS to play with concepts and try things till they got to this point. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of gave them a direction at first, didn't work, rather than just blowing that up and going with something else, probably because they didn't have the funds to blow it up and go with something else. They allowed it to evolve, and hopefully in learning from evolution, you can create a girl group that will be allowed to evolve in evolution with somebody who already knows how to follow the trends that people will gravitate towards. So like that in paper concept sounds amazing to me, to have this label that seems to be able to do the right things in growth and sticking with something to really see how and where it goes. I find really interesting, and I think this could be, if done right, with all of these really good elements in the pot, could be a very formidable girl group coming out.
Yeah, depends on who they recruit, what kind of talents and what kind of emphasis they put on. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, we talk about we both love FX and we both love Red Velvet. I love Girls' Generation. I literally could point to exactly where they are on my wall. I have Girls' Generation up here over this door that you see behind me. I've got Luna right here next to me. As you can see, the Somebody and Free Somebody. I've got Red Velvet up here, which you can kind of see. And if you go back to some old episodes of Hallyujuku, where it was over there in a different spot in my room, I used to have an FX poster that was permanently right behind me, had the girls like over my shoulder. So like these are groups that are definitely like conceptually and based on and you know, with not just their music direction, but conceptually are ones that I've always been captivated by. They've always been really solid, like conceptually, which is really cool. And I'm looking forward to what they do, especially with like depending on who the creative team is and who they recruit as trainees and you know yeah, that one just caught me out of nowhere. Who they they recruit as trainees and who they debut with and what kind of team they build, not just within the girl group, but obviously as the team around them, and what they do on this. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Big Hit, are they have a lot of room to work with, and they have a lot of leeway, especially with they have all that BTS money. They have they have a lot of leeway that they can fail a little and learn. So
they can go out and get some hot free agents, man.
Yeah. Free agency is how it's like get some talent out there and work for Cube and G Idol. Worked out that way. Yeah, looking forward to it. Moving forward, speaking of girl groups, speaking of just girl groups, so this is just interesting. I wanted to kind of like bring this up. IOI confirmed to return with 9 members in October. This is an interesting kind of like IOI, which was always meant to kind of like last for a year and then go away. There's been a lot of rumblings here and there, back and forth, a lot of rumors. It's like one of those like Half-Life 3 things. Like it's like, yeah, sure, it's like this thing that gets brought up every once in a while. That there was going to be a reunion with all or with almost all or things like that. What seemingly is a confirmation, though there's been even some like kind of like confusion as to who is involved with this reunion. There is a seeming confirmation from them, I guess IOI themselves. This is the statement. The statement is like reads, quote, "Hello, this is IOI. At our last concert, we promised to meet again. We have each been working hard in our own fields, always dreaming of a reunion like our fans. We have now decided that in October 2019, Kim Se-jung, Chae Yu-jung, Chung-ha, Kim So-hye, Shu Ji-hyung, Jung Chae-yeon, Kim Do-yeon, Kang Mina, and Im Na-young will be standing in front of you again under the name IOI. We wanted to meet the fans who have been waiting for us as soon as possible, although Jun So-mi and Yu Yeon-jung were not able to join us this time. They will be cheering us on and giving us strength from close by. We will continue to communicate about IOI's preparations and promotion schedule. Once again, we're happy to be able to give good news to the fans that have waited for us." This is from a company called Studio Blue, which supposedly are a subset of Mnet, but people are not too sure. This seems pretty official. This is, of course, the only post on Studio Blue's Instagram, so I don't know. But if this is official, it's definitely interesting.
There's like some weird stuff and it's kind of talked about a little bit in some other places, and some people make mention to it in the comments on this Shumpi article, is that there is a lot of talk that like there might have been some deals because some of these girls who were in other groups that were supposed to shine and then go back to their other groups and then uplift, those groups have not been doing so well. So maybe the reformation of IOI is a cutting of losses. You know what I mean? Like, rather make money than continue to lose money.
Yeah.
Sensibility. Whereas IOI is going to make money. Yeah. Like, IOI is going to make money.
Yeah. Which is, definitely the case for a lot of them. I would say, like, and for at least one or two of them, one of them being Chung-ha, this is a no-loss opportunity to just perform with her old friends and just have fun in between her own comebacks. 'Cause I would say Chungha doesn't need this. she's doing just fine, which is almost kind of like a kind of a lesson to be learned there. That being said, what is definitely interesting is the people not showing up, which is Yeonjung and Somi. Now, Yeonjung, she's in Uju Cosmic Girls, who are actually kind of like, from everybody's observation, are kind of a little bit on the rise. They're growing. The group is actually growing in popularity a little bit, and doing a little bit better. So it's understandable how they see a good momentum there. They don't want to have that let up. So definitely her. But Jeonsumi, it's a little puzzling why she would be sitting this out.
Yeah.
I don't know how well Birthday did. But some people are saying that it didn't quite do well. I mean, it definitely peaked high. It hit number 1 on several real-time charts. But is it selling well? Is she is it enough? Is your solo career solid enough for you to feel like you don't need this? And I don't know that it is. I mean, technically Chungha's career is one that she doesn't need this, but she's agreeing to do this probably just because it's fun. And again, they all do seemingly get along. Again, I've said it before. I don't ever want to poo-poo on people betting on themselves. But when somebody's very much maybe making a bad bet, I don't want to be insulting. I think she's as a personality. I think a lot of what she's doing in betting on herself maybe is more on the I do music because it's fun, but I'm also just a brand ambassador or a TV personality and model, and I do that more because she's doing that just fine. She's modeling up a storm. She's doing commercials, and that's all the real stuff that actually makes real money. So I could definitely see that. I don't know. What did you have any thoughts?
I think I just think maybe it could also weirdly be a thing where maybe just that part of a deal couldn't have been settled as well. You know what I mean? Like you have this much of the deal done, and rather than waiting to get that last part of the deal done, you're just like, let's just go with what we got.
Yeah. So we'll see. At least Kyokyung or Jikyung and Nayoung are not jobless anymore. So which is nice. They have something to do, so that that's always good. Please did them dirty. And a few of the other members who are in the they are able to kind of they maybe get a little bit more clout or reignite their relevance, and maybe hopefully this time will work out for their new group, their current groups. Well, let's see. But yeah, looking forward to IOI coming back. It's gonna be fun. With some solid songs. I guess I wanted to close out with for a couple of things which are really nice. A couple of moments of idols opening up on mental health and mental illness, which was really cool. And a couple of instances, specifically Maki Sally, which I believe we've talked about before. She was originally a kind of aspiring voice actor that joined this anime project that became a actual virtual idol group, uh 227, I believe is the name of it. And she's been kind of a really fun personality throughout this whole thing. And she's, but very much obviously kind of pointing out to like maybe moments in her personality and herself and her life that where she's not okay, and kind of playing them as jokes in a way, but almost like, but not to brush them off, but like to kind of like, you know, kind of like just make humor out of like life, you know, kind of like humor.
We've talked about this with other
Making
people
good humor.
in a very, very, yeah, like kind of me, you, and some of the very core group of like online friends that we have. We have had this thing for a long time where we are very self-deprecating, but it's our way of healing.
Yeah.
And to the outside looking in, you wouldn't understand it. It just looks like the saddest fucking puddle of people talking shit to each other about things that they should like have therapy and other things for. But like for us, that's how we heal. Like if we can't laugh at it, then it's really a problem.
Yeah.
like laughing at it is that first hurdle for some people of getting over it. Being able to joke about it is that first hurdle of being able to get over it. So that's just how some people deal.
Yeah.
And she does seem to kind of have that personality air to her where she does like to be very humorous, and she does like to kind of make jokes.
Yeah.
So
but then she decided, you know, kind of like, she opened up a little bit more about her like social anxiety disorder, and decided kind of like to make some like hard decisions about maybe suspending some of her activities, but not all, in service of managing some of that anxiety and some of that stress, especially kind of like, which is definitely tough because like you know, it's you in any kind of idolesque scene, it can be tough to be honest with that, and do things like cancel events for yourself, you know, and make decisions for yourself, even if it might kind of disappoint people that, you know, people that might be fans. Like maybe can't like we've seen it with people talking about it in creator circles and streamer circles, people like cutting down on streams or canceling like public, you know, having less public events and things like that in service of like managing their work-life balance, and stress and anxiety. So it's like it's a good, smart decision, and I'm glad for her, because she's a fun personality, and every time I've seen her with doing the 22/7 stuff, especially like some of the videos she did in English were really fun and funny. So all the best to her. And then also this carries over to Taeyeon opening up about her struggles with depression during the Q&A on Instagram, and how she was basically just straight up saying like, you know, I'm not always as good, and like I'm actually actively managing all this, and you know, like through treatment, and you know, like this is a thing that I live with, and things like that, and kind of going through that, and going into details in that, which is kind of like, it's nice to see them be honest and open about that, especially in a way that where they're talking about the struggle and talk about how they're also working on healing it and how to working on themselves and bettering themselves and seeking their health, which is really nice. What's your impression on?
I mean, this like you said, this kind of tends to always happen, and then you kind of get more and more of it as people are willing to talk about it more publicly. I do like one of the things that was said in this Asian Junkie article is I don't think they fully kind of expand on this, but like they say they wonder how this is being interpreted by Japanese fans, because Japanese people are very, very, very much like, you don't talk about those kind of things. Very, very much like, kind of weirdly, has been a thing that has been talked about recently in kind of urban culture, like especially like Black and Latino culture, and some Asian culture. You just don't talk about those things out loud. Like, you don't talk about mental health shit out loud, because from a I'm assuming it's probably different for her being in Japan right now, but here in America, the reason for minorities to never really talk about those things, or the reason we never do, is because from a very young age, especially if you come from urban cultures, you're kind of taught to not show weakness. Just because it just automatically means people will take advantage of you. But we're getting to a healthier place in all realms, that talking about these things is way more helpful than not talking about them. So hopefully, in having these two people talk about these things, it opens up the ability for more people to be willing to talk about these things, which then opens up more healing ideas and more ways, and it opens up fans to be. You're always going to have idiots, but I don't want to talk about them. But like, he opens up fans to relate more and understand that you are not a robot. When you can go, oh shit, like that person, and I think it's also healthy for people to see people who they think has everything under control and is in a place that they want to be, and thinks, oh, that's what will cure my depression if I'm able to get to somewhere that person is. And when that person goes, nah dog, I'm still depressed, you go, oh, that's not the key to being happy. Well, diggity dang.
When you realize like other people don't necessarily have it, like, or like people that are older don't necessarily have it going on. Like there's a great moment in the Community where Troy, the guy who just turned 21, being taken out for his non-birthdays coincidental celebration, is that realization is like, oh, older people are all idiots. They don't have it figured out. They don't have it any more figured out than I do. Like, by watching Jeff and Britta and all their arguments and back and forth, and like them realizing then they were talking, like the whole plot of that show, or like or to like further your point, your also other point reminded me of a movie that I finally got around to seeing recently, which is Moonlight, a movie set here in Miami, which is really cool. And one of the things that I noted in that movie, which is a great journey of like a young black kid's life from Liberty City, is how that first act when he's a kid, how everyone addresses him as little man. Because like little man, that's just something that especially black folk say to kids. You say, "What's up, little man?" And it's, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's purposeful how every character refers to him. What's up, little man? Little man, little man. Like how even from like this kid who's been bullying in school is expected to be a little man. He's like 8 or I don't remember how old he was. Like, as a kid, which is like it's always a kind of, it made me think of that, which is a really cool moment. So go see Moonlight. It's a good movie. But yeah, it is. It is a good conversation, a good honest conversation to have. So good for Amaki Sally and good for Taeyeon, who has had her journeys. Because when we have these healing journeys, you can have less of the tragic endings, or tragic endings that almost happen, like the one we almost had with Hara recently. So hopefully we can all kind of like lean on each other and help each other out. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's a good place to land on for this episode of Hallyujuku. Kaz, what's going on? What's going on in your world? What can you tell us about?
We just recently recorded a episode of Sports Odds and Ends where we talked about some of the happenings and going on in the free agency. Basically, if you want to break down because you don't want to listen to the episode, the Nets
Jimmy Butler
signed.
It's all about Jimmy Butler. That's really the only important part. Jimmy Buckets coming to Miami. It's all that matters.
So PD is happy. That happened after the episode, but during the episode was talking about the Nets, talking about possibly the Pistons doing well if they all don't blow out their knees because they're all over 30.
Yeah.
And the Knicks literally doing nothing and sitting on their hands. So yeah, there we go.
Yes. Yeah. Kaz, I imagine you had to hold. You had to hold yourself to deal with all that. You being the resident Knicks fan, or have you given up at this point?
No. So here's the thing, and this is the thing I preach each and every day. You stay through the bad, so that the good feels better.
Yes.
If you bandwagon and you jump off the ship as soon as somebody mentions an iceberg, you fucked up. All right. Yeah. You got to stay through the bad. You got to stay through the fucking boat, scraping that iceberg, ripping a hole asunder, and you trying to save everyone you can along with you. And then somehow, some way, the ship magically heals.
Yes.
And you sail in good, clean ocean.
Yes. Onward. But yeah, good luck to the Knicks. Good luck to the Heat.
Didn't they tell you? Don't you know?
But that's it for us. He's at King Kaz. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at Hallyujuku. KKPopPodcast.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and elsewhere. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. I'm working on other places. It's going to be an ongoing thing. But subscribe, like, share, do all those things. Give us likes, give us reviews. Until next time.
Why, I think you're crazy.
Hasta los huevos. Annyeong. Fighting.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.